the ego can kill you directly by making you do crazy things that are out of sync with the universe and out of sync with what actually makes sense to do, which can lead to your death, or in a more subtle way by lending assault to your body by making you not focus on it, making you not care about it, divorcing your attention from what's actually occurring internally within your living entity, and then putting that attention instead into the mental processes of the ego, of excessive thinking, of fear, of worry, of doubt. When you see people with this furrowed brow, like just lost, just somewhere else, in a negative sense. Not that they're dreaming, not that they're happy, not that they're of this world, but not in it in a good way, but in a negative way, as if they're in some self-created hell, envisioned only in their own mind, when around them is peace and goodness. When you see this, something's going on. Something's happening here, but you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? It's a line from a Bob Dylan song. Now, with respect to the ego wreaking havoc on the person, when you're that focused on your mind, you lose focus of your body. People become bent, right? People, their posture deteriorates, their muscles and tendons tighten, and that can lead to knee problems. It can lead to all sorts of issues. It can lead to obesity because you're not focused on the right thing, and you lose the willpower to actually work out. You lose the energy, because there's so much energy drained by the incessant mental processes of the ego. And these are not processes that are constructive or productive. They're based in fear. They're based in worry. They're based in want and lack. And they go and go and go and go, and there's no stopping them. So one of the benefits of yoga, physical yoga, is that it encourages a mind-body connection. Your mind tells your body to do something, and it does it, and you have to focus intensely on it. It's not just a functional, graceless movement, just like basic walking. You have to do it with grace and dexterity and skill, and that encourages you to focus internally rather than in unending mental processes. But basically, when you develop diseases as a result of negative mental processes, coming out of it becomes extremely hard. Let's say you get cancer, then you have to go through chemo or surgery or radiation. Now your body's weakened and is more susceptible to other diseases. Let's say that you develop obesity, right? Well, you may then get sleep apnea. If you get sleep apnea, you can't breathe at night, and if you can't breathe at night, you're not getting oxygen. Your body's always going to feel tired, making you more susceptible to more diseases, and making you less able to actually work out and exercise and get rid of it, making you also more susceptible to not feeling good, not feeling at every moment, just feeling low, like there's no energy, right? These are all mechanisms of the ego. So when you see somebody who's deeply worried and acting out as such, it can be very unpleasant to be around them, because when you see somebody like that, it activates the same thing in you. You start to get worried, right? When you see somebody that's happy, their energy comes onto you also, right? So when you see somebody that's worried like that, just understand that they're suffering in ways that you can't currently imagine, because it's a mental problem. It's a mental problem of not being able to handle the uncertainties of life as well as one could with more spiritual awareness. It's a mental problem of allowing the worrying mind to just go and 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 go. However far it can go. You can think up a whole world, a whole hellish world of misery and pain and fear that exists only in your own mind, when around you everything is peaceful. And of course, you can then attract that into your life quite easily by being very worried. People don't want to be around you because then they get worried and they don't like that feeling. And then you become isolated, you become on your own, you start to think people can't be trusted, people this, people that. You start worrying more about them, because instead of them being your friends, they're now potential enemies. Then if you think they're your enemies, they become your enemies, right? Because they start to suspect something about you too. This is the madness of the ego-based mind, and it exists in everybody. It just varies in degree, it varies in the content of it. I may be thinking about 1, 2, and 3, whatever my worries and desires and so forth are, you may be thinking about 7, 8, and 9. But nonetheless, they essentially serve the same function for us. There's an incessant lack. There's an incessant hungering. There's an incessant lack of peace and contentment. There's an excessive overvaluation of the future. There's an excessive and incessant worry. Just that's overcome the person. And then you wonder, when is it going to end? When's it going to be over? In your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s? Well, it may never end, right? Unless you do the work of becoming aware. Because most people die without realizing that they're under the spell of the ego. They would sooner die than let go of their ego or their preferences. They would sooner die because there's a sense of safety in that ego, and that's why it's so powerful. People feel fear, and the ego gives them safety. It's not real safety, it's perceived safety, right? So let's say I'm worried about running out of money, for example. Well, then what's the ego's response? It's not to make money, it's to make $1 billion, and then 5 billion, 10 billion, right? It's a scarcity-based mentality. I worked at a bank at one point. The people in the bank said that it's a common mentality in the bank to think that you're poor, or rather that you have less money than other people, right? So take an upper middle class bank manager, right? Managing clients' money who's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and then reporting to somebody who makes more money than him. See, everyone around him has more money than he does, so he feels poor relatively, right? So my point with respect to all this is to just be aware of these things, right? The money is never the issue. The specific situation as it is never the issue, but it's the response to it. The same way I can have you and I can look at the same situation and see it completely differently. Well, we're looking at the same situation, but we respond differently based on the content of how we respond to things. So we need to be able to separate situation from our own reactions. Our own reactions are us. There could be something inherent about the situation. Someone's worried, I get worried, but nonetheless, it's me that got worried. Let's say someone's worried and I decided to be loving to them instead, or to just give my conscious awareness. That's another valid reaction to somebody worrying. So if someone's worried and I get worried, that doesn't mean that that's their fault. It could be to some extent, but nonetheless, it was me. You see? In the same vein, with respect to you and everybody you know, it's all a matter of what your reaction is. And when you have conscious awareness, you can move beyond this hellish egoscape of fear, lack, scarcity, wanting, incessant worry. Who wants that? But you will live under that spell until the deeper spiritual awareness comes in that you're more than just this person. You are the total life. You are the one life. You are consciousness. You are the unlimited awareness, the incorporeal awareness, the unconditioned awareness. Not this specific entity, and more importantly, not this specific mental form that's conjured in the mind, which is in the form of the ego. So I hope that helps, and the more each of us dissolve our personal egos, the more the collective ego dissolves. The more sanity we can conduct our affairs with, the more love we can live with, the more happiness we can have, and less of this worried and serious mentality. Seriousness is good in the right place, but worry is most often a waste. It's a wasted imagination.